We're going to start with the Jets, and I'm sure you heard Thomas Jones. He rips Brett Favre, saying if somebody is not playing well, they need to come out of the game. This is what Jones said to reporters, or to a radio station. You're jeopardizing the whole team because you're having a bad day. To me, that's not fair to everybody else. You're not the only one on the team. And I should note that an unnamed player told your newspaper, Newsday, that there was a lot of resentment in the room about Brett Favre. But let me get back to Thomas Jones' quote, his comments. What do you think? Was Thomas Jones out of line?
Listen, I think a player should be free to say whatever he wants to say, and I think it's actually good that came out. Look, the Jets are looking for a new head coach. I think a new head coach has got to know what the pulse of the locker room is. And if a player is feeling that way about Brett Favre, who was supposedly the answer, then that's fine, and it's all well and good. But here's the thing with Thomas Jones: you're gonna take Brett Favre out in the second half against the team whose quarterback your old quarterback went to is kicking your butt, and you're not going to give Brett Favre a chance. It's only a 7-point game to get back in the game. How many times have we seen Brett Favre shrug off interceptions before, only to get back in? There's just no way you can take him out at that point in the game. And you're putting Kellen Clemens in there, who hasn't played all season. Not fair, not right, not appropriate.
Bob, I agree with your last point, and it is a wise one, but in the big picture, and I think you'll agree with this, I'm glad that Thomas Jones said this publicly because it needed to be said. And furthermore, it needed to be said by the running back, who rarely says anything publicly and was voted by his teammates as the MVP of the New York Jets. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. I got one more thing.
You know, and I know, I defended Brett Favre all season long because I thought it was a great move for the Jets, the Bretts as I started calling them, to go get Brett and make a one-year run at a Super Bowl. But clearly, after 8-3, Brett's body and I think his heart hit the wall. And I'm glad that a team leader is now speaking out and basically sending the message to Brett, it's just time to move on and for you to stay home.
I completely agree with that, and that's fine. One thing about Thomas Jones, early in the season, he said of Brett Favre, I am so glad we have Brett Favre because he can stretch the field. He makes it easier for me as a running back, i.e., Chad Pennington, your arm wasn't strong enough. You're not giving me enough room to run. So let's just keep that in mind, number one. And number two is, I don't know of other people who said it before the season, but Skip, I felt from the start, big mistake. I know Chad Pennington doesn't have the arm, the noodle arm you always call it, but he is a great leader. He was 32 years old. He was fine from his shoulder surgery. Give him the chance. It was a huge gamble, and it blew up right in their face. Now, I admit, 8-3, okay, you know what? Brett Favre, he can only win those games against New England and Tennessee. Chad Pennington cannot win those games. But Chad Pennington doesn't go 0-4 on the West Coast and throw horrible interceptions. He doesn't go 3 interceptions in the final game at home. So this thing has gone horribly wrong. The Jets say they want him back.
Bob,
they can't have it back. He's done.
I hear what you're saying, but in the big picture, I still say if they'd stuck with Chad in the same old locker room, in the same old mentality, same old Jets, they would have been 3-8 instead of 8-3.
Nah, come on, Skip. There's no way that would have happened. Chad is an efficient quarterback who doesn't make mistakes.
Well, that's what we're seeing so far. I got to catch you off here, Bob. We're seeing that with Chad Pennington. He's gone down to Miami. He has them in the playoffs, and he is the one who's leading his team into Wild Card Weekend, not Brett Favre.